So here we are along the river. Across there, show you in a second, we've got Ely Cathedral in the distance. There's a beautiful bridge. There's the odd boat now coming in. A few barns and things crossing the way. But this is a fantastic location here for a painting. So we're just going to get straight into it. And here comes a boat right on cue, just right behind me. So we're going to pop in the first wash. Such a beautiful still day. At last, spring has sprung, and I'm looking forward to this. Oh, there's a little fly in there. Need to get rid of that. Glorious day. The wind has dropped. It's about 19 degrees. It's kind of early in the morning. Just had this boat come by, so I need to try and capture some of that. Normally I wouldn't go straight in. I would normally go for the sky, but there's a couple of bits I just want to capture here, and that's the movement of the water. So I just want to get that wash in. Try and retain some of this light. Going back there. That was a burnt sienna, by the way. And then we'll pop in some of these fantastic clouds. We've got Ely Cathedral out there in the background. Just a touch of blue coming through in places. Not much. It's way too much. Got some beautiful cloud shapes and shadows in here. And lots of greys. So I've got neutral tint already. In my palette. We want soft edges, we want hard edges. Just this whole feeling of movement coming through. Got some yellow ochre. Just in some of these lighter cloud patches coming down. A lot of light in the horizon. Incredibly blue out there where the cathedral is. We'll pop that in a second. It's just designed around this got some grass on my brush. A bit of grass, and love it. Yeah. Some of these cloud shapes have got a lot of light in them. I don't want that dry brush there, I just want that nice and soft coming in here. That run there. Same as here. It's quite a creamy hue to the sky today. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I'll do for a first wash. Pop in the same along here just as a basic wash. Let's retain a few of the little lights in there. This is just the bank of the river, and we'll do the same on the other side. Get that bank of the river in as well. So in terms of the design, we have a piece of grass on there. Lightest light, lightest dark's kind of gonna hit here. The cathedral's very blue in the distance, amazing. And here how quiet it is. There's a little bit of a road next to us, but yeah. think that'll do for our initial first wash. I'm going to retain that light there. Mind my head, grab a tissue. Just want to try and take out some of this here before that dries off. There's a lot of highlights along this river. And that'll do. We're going to let that dry and then we'll bend to the next part. So this is dry enough here to work into. We've got a distant grey blue. Just don't want to, that's okay. Make sure this is not too strong. Just pop that in there. Get a touch of blue in places. So we've got some lost and found edges. Some kind of distant trees and things. That's nice, soft over there. Just go quite carefully here. We do have trees. Just a touch of blue in here to balance some of this up. A few highlights going through. Just that this is dry enough, it is. We've got that. There's trains coming around. Just going to lift this board up a little bit. Pop in this. The cathedral in the distance. Just as a silhouette. I need to take out some of that liquid, it's quite strong. Just take it out with the tip of this brush, just empty that brush. Just flicking this brush off. Encourage that to go back up. With a train coming by. There's a train track that runs along here and there's some wires, but I don't want those in today. I'm not interested in those today. Another day I might well have been interested, but today I was more inspired by the reflections that I saw in the water and the way that water's moving. The mixtures that we've got there, just along this bank, we have some amazing kind of movement going on, and it's diffused as well, so I need to capture that. How do I do that? Well, just a bit of water and soften off some of these edges. That's the way you do it. While it's still wet. Stop being wet. There's not much you can do about it. It's retaining the light underneath of the wash. It was already there. As that boat went by, it left a lot of ripples, so that's basically the kind of effect we're trying to create there. Let's just pop in some dry brush just to start to balance this up a little bit. We have some of these bleeding in as well. Just pop those in now. See them just bleeding in. Not all of them, just some, just a few. Come in with some more defined in a little while. Let's just pop in this tree while I can see it. It's quite dark actually. Fish jumping around. So relaxing here, it's beautiful. It kind of reminds me of my dad. He used to take me fishing when I was a kid, bless him. So, died a number of years ago now. We'll let that dry off a bit. Just gonna pop in some darker tones there. Down to here. A couple of other trees. Now this is coarse, not dry. So I'm not going to mess there too much. I quite like that blurred edge on there though. I've been a touch of dry in here. Skimming all the way up. There's some old train of coal or something over there, I suppose. Go for a finer brush. Just to find the edge of that. The barn out here. That in. Now the bridge is quite a steely sort of grey out the back here, especially underneath. Some neutral tint in here. Reflection as well coming in. yellow ochre in here. It's part of this bridge that was going across. There's a tree in front of it. Quite a dark tree, so I'm still using, I'm keeping to the same sorts of hues and tones there. Neutral tint, ultramarine, yellow ochre, burnt sienna. Just going to pop this tree in here. Do there. And the sun's gone in, the light just changes so much. Especially all the way along these banks and all the bits and bobs that we have here. All of this reflected light. Oh, this is still damp. I want to get these in. Quite important to pop those in now. Just these bits and edges on the bank. Just foliage and stuff like that. Yeah, they're all kind of tree there as well. Train, beautiful. These ripples, they kind of get smaller as they go along, and they're kind of bigger further up, basically. Kind of mix them up a bit. Shadow up a touch. Foliage. It's dry enough to work in there. Just to pop this foliage, I'm going to use my cadmium yellow now just to pop into the mixture that we've got there, just to create some of this foliage. Sure, we're leaving a few gaps around. And we're going to get that in there. It's very bright green. Here. Add a touch of blue, just a little bit of darkness in here. Some lights, shadows, darks. Pop those in. Dry brush there. Try there. So we want these lost and found edges, we want sharper edges, darker edges. Pop in the same mixture, a touch of ultramarine. there. Bit of a grass bank coming in here. We'll leave some light coming through on this. Not too much. That's fine. Just a touch of a spray in there to let it do its own thing, and while it's doing its own thing, I want this kind of textury, and you kind of just get the whole feel of it, and it's pushing things back now. Tonally, I've come in a bit stronger. Just let the thing do its own thing. That's basically it. It's beautiful. I feel like it's going to rain. It does. Just a bit of dry there. Just joining things up now. You've heard me say this time and time again. It's really important. You don't have a passage that's kind of left out on its own. Passage of paint, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. More blue into this mixture. Oh, it's just a glorious day. Best day of the year so far. 1st of May. Almost done. Now we need some pan tile roof in here, but a bit weaker than that. There we go. That'll do it. Pop a shadow in. The shadow's on the right hand side. So I'm going to mix up some shadow colour in a second, just get rid of all this grey matter. Just spray it out and just let it run off. And then we're in for the shadow time. So with shadow time, just before we go there, I've just strengthened up the bridge with a touch of neutral tint, and similar thing there. Yeah, shadows are, as you know, very personal thing for the way that most painters paint them. Some will paint them a darker colour of whatever colour you've got on the paper. I tend to go for my favourite mix. Don't always do this, but probably 90% of the time, because I think it gives a kind of a unity to the painting. But anyway, ultramarine and crimson, and then I might add in a touch of neutral tint, or I might add in a touch of burnt sienna. But now I need to capture these shadows that have kind of vanished. I can kind of remember where they were. The light is coming from this direction, so let's see how this works out. Just be careful there. Coming down, there's a touch of one here. Down there, just got to let that do it. It's very liquidy. Move it around a bit. Same as that one. I need to take a bit of that out. It's quite pleasant though. Yep, so the light was coming in from this direction here. Got a shadow there. Really quick. See how quick I put that in? No messing around. That's in. So the eye is coming here. I can feel a spot of rain, so this painting's going to get done just in a nick of time, I think. Just going to dot in a few of these, not many. A few patches in here. Just echo in a little bit, you can see that. We've got a light coming in here, but most of the light's over this side, so I can just put in just a few little dabs and touches on this side. Quite a lot of cloud shadows were coming over, so I could make use of that. I like this passage, and I've kind of got to think, what is that going to look like if I put a shadow in? And I've kind of mapped that out in my head, what it's going to look like. So I'm going to leave this part of yellow here, but put in this shadow there. But I also need to soften that shadow off, because it's not a car shadow, it's just a cloud shadow that we can just soften out there. I want that to run, excuse my head, back that way a bit. I'm just going to take out this just to keep that. I want to retain this passage of bright yellow coming in through here of this field. So that's helping there. Here I'm happy with, it's still quite damp, but to deal with that when you're in a rush or the rain's coming, you would just let the paper do its thing by dotting in a few bits like this in this textural area. We're just keeping that, you know, it's a nothing, but it's actually a lot, because it's creating a mass, if you like. It's quite a big part of the painting, so it's quite an interesting space to have a look at in terms of texture. Yeah, I just want to sharpen up a few of these little edges here, but we're kind of done. I'm just going to move that back a little bit. I always say this, don't I? We're kind of done. We're not kind of done. There's still a little bit more to go on this. Just tidy this up slightly. Yeah, there's a touch under that. The light's coming from here. There's a touch under this eave. Not much. I'll do. And we could echo some of these in here, I guess. Not much. That's better. Let's just soften that down a bit. While we're here, we'll pop in the birds. Neutral tint. Down there. I just saw an absolutely beautiful kite. It was flying right the way along, literally about 3 feet above the water. It was absolutely amazing to see. A lot of birds around here though. One more. That's just to show that there's a bit of life here. There's no people in this painting. It's like an old motorbike. And then the last little bit obviously is going to be highlights. I might redo this. I'm not happy with this here. Might just redo it. I think I'm just going to keep painting into the damp. That's better. Just let that do its thing there. So I'm going to sharpen up a couple of things here. I need to mix up some green. It's quite dark green, so I'm using what's in there. It's just not going to hurt. And some dry as well. Just sharpen up some of these grasses. I don't want to put too many in. You get the idea. We know there's grasses here. Just vary the directions of them really. And just tonally create something slightly different. And over here we don't need to worry too much. I mean, there are a few, but kind of off into the distance there. I quite like the way that's all played out. Highlights, I don't really see any in terms of putting in any actual highlights, and I'm happy with this painting. So kind of going to leave it and get the tape off. So hopefully you enjoyed that, guys, and thanks so much for joining me on this outdoor watercolor adventure. I really enjoyed today's painting, and hopefully you did. I'm now going to take the tape off, and remember to like, subscribe, all that stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care, bye bye, happy painting.